in New Mexico now, and I'm working on a book related to folk art
and a phase right now where if any of our members are interested in developing a relationship with, say, a collective in Norway, there's grant money.
New Mexico's it's a wonderful, it's a beautiful state.
Yeah, it's really brown right now. Let me show you. My husband just sent me some pictures. That's Florida. That doesn't.
Well, Florida, New Mexico, same difference.
Well, one is green and the other is not.
It's just the color of the rainbow.
Yeah, you really do.
Matt Brown's not on the rainbow, is
So
it?
happy.
What
So
is?
happy.
Color on the rainbow.
It depends on what you
Yeah, me
want.
too, me too.
What? She's got skulls in her dress.
Behind my house.
That's rather spectacular.
Yeah,
I
they
didn't
call the
see those.
Spanish word for watermelon because they turn red at night.
Your full name.
Oh.
And so it's kind of watermelon colored mountains.
That's just, yeah.
Nice about it, yeah.
So how long you been there?
We moved there in 2018 at the end of the year.
I think if I just don't
Take
move
care
my
of my
jaw,
husband's
I'll
books.
pronounce it.
My father-in-law is a 96-year-old World War II vet. So obviously I'm gonna quarantine when I go home.
I'm gonna try it.
Right.
I
I'm
figured
gonna
the
try
Nazis
it.
couldn't kill him, then I don't wanna bring
This
a
is that
cold
week
home.
where I play the
Give him
party
sick,
ghost
so-
to wander out to see if there's anybody
Yes,
else this
it's
way.
exactly. You don't want to be the one that does it.
My phone's busy. Yes.
Brilliant and hearty and tough.
At some point,
We do the New York
I'm glad
Times
there's
crossword
lunch
puzzle
after
on
this,
Sunday,
because
and,
food will help with
he tells me stories about
keeping the caffeine
Yeah.
from eating me alive.
being chased by the KGB when he was a consultant for the containment of nuclear waste, and he's one of those smart guys.
Well, we know he's a smarty guy because he and his wife produced your husband, right?
And that's true, and my husband's way smarter than I am.
That's always, it's a nice thing to say. It may not be true, but it's nice to say.
I have high standards. I was looking for somebody that could run circles around me, and I got it.
Yeah, well, that's what when you're having a conversation with your significant other, it's always nice to be able to learn something at the end of the conversation, rather than the other way around.
That would be awful.
Yes.
Yes, I think if you're the smartest person in the room, that means you're in a room full of stupid people. So I always aspire to be the stupidest person in the room, because then I'm leveling up, right?
Yeah, it's funny because that's how
I'll adopt that.
Yeah, now where are you from, Matt? Where are you from?
I'm from Missouri, Columbia, Missouri. It's a state in the middle of the country.
more of a state of mind than a state. If you're not.
And where did you say you were from? I'm sorry.
I'm in Albuquerque,
Okay, all right.
but I'm originally from northern Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
So you take that Minnesota nice with you?
I do take the Minnesota nice with me, but Minnesota nice is why I have an interest in Norwegian things, because I grew up playing Norwegian folk music.
Well, you've come to the right presentation.
Yeah, I think so. Here, I'll show you a picture of my hard driver fiddle.
These were the
Well,
first
you
folks
read my
we
mind. I
talked
was
to
about
when we
ready.
got here, and they were Norwegians, and I think Lockie's Norwegian. So
This is the national instrument of Norway. It's called a hardingfed,
Oh,
or hardriver fiddle.
I'm quite familiar with it.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's a beautiful fiddle, but also, well, it's very much like a Scottish.
I happen to have
background.
Norwegians
It's a drum.
here.
Yeah, so there was always a drone that you play. It's usually 2 strings at once, but it's also got 5 strings that are underneath the fingerboard
Yeah.
that are sympathetically vibrating while you play, and so you get this sort of like eerie sort of
Haunting music,
Yes,
yes.
it's pretty wild.
As I was joking with my wife when I was trying to have her listen to it, it's music you want to contemplate suicide by.
No, only when there's more than one person playing, you know. I think if you have 2 fiddles at once, then
Yeah.
you want to throw yourself off a bridge.
Off a bridge, right, or something, yes. The bridge that Moon was showing.
I'm really lucky because my husband actually likes my fiddle playing. And that's my true love.
And there's a woman who was moderately famous for it. Is it Ingeborg? Mia, I'm not getting her name wrong, but she's sort of, in fact, I probably even have, you know, these things, people get famous, quote unquote, for like 3 years and then they fade away.
Is she a fiddle player?
She plays the Haviger fiddle.
Ah.
Let me see if I've got that. I may or may not have that.
fødte et monster. Og da er det Så det, ja. Men jeg liker det. Jeg liker den energien.
Here we go.
Den gir mye energi.
Ja.
Sånn.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going here.
But I did fiddle and fever. Fiddle fever. There we go.
Well, since you,
I know her name. I think I might have.
you probably have some of her
Yeah.
records, because she was
So
big
it is
about,
very
there's
quiet.
her.
Okay. The
So
hauling
maybe
after
this
all the
small
most,
of
and I think I know that one.
That's okay.
I'm excited.
These are really
Oh,
good.
this one, you know the Lost Sheep?
One of the
I know them all.
challenges this year
Actually,
is that
this song was used as a theme song for the TV
not a
show
lot
and
of
the movie Fargo.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they were very, so
I'm
I,
excited.
my other,
I don't think I have this album, so it's Fiddle Fever.
well, here, before,
I will jot down my handy
When we
little note.
start, would you prefer, for me to shut the door? Yes.
Yeah.
For noise, okay, awesome. Great.
Hun skal på den.
Da, da, da. I just need one more thing, and then we'll be ready to start.
Fiddle Fever.
if that
Of course
goes
I did
wrong,
that.
if you lose that.
We're almost ready
here,
to
you
start,
can
so
just
we're gonna
contact
go.
me.
Thank you.
It's the,
I didn't know that you were.
the nature of.
I,
Oh,
my background
So, my hearty creative folks, welcome to the first session of the Visual Performing Arts and Audiences track of ICFA 43. I am Carrie J. Cole, I'm the division head, which gave me the power to say, I'm going to moderate this amazing, amazing panel. This is my goal for the division, to have more opportunities to embrace the fact that the arts are a research-based practice, which means that quite often what we do gets presented better not sitting behind a table reading a paper. So I am hoping my computer didn't fall asleep so that I can give my lovely setup beyond that. While I'm waking it up, I will say our performers are vaccinated, boosted, COVID negative in order to get here from Oslo. So they'll be performing without their masks. When I'm done, I'll put my mask back on. It is your choice and your comfort level. And I'll say that not just for this space, but for any of the spaces that you're in. We have the buttons, which is great, but your circumstance may change. Always be, know that I will support you in creating your boundaries as you need. And I can beat people up if you want me to. So, this panel is called the Temporary Creative Mythological Collective, a performance paper session. You will see that the paper is not what you might be expecting. At some point in this presentation, you will be offered something to look at. If you do not want to physically touch it for any reason, just hold your hand up to our performers, and they'll place it in front of you so that you can still view it. Make sense? Did I cover that? All right. So I'm just going to say that this is a co-created project that was carried out in the autumn of 2021, as we were all in the land of COVID. And the project was to create an online storytelling performance and a temporary transdisciplinary artistic collective consisting of an oral storyteller, who is my Mrs. Heidi Dalfsen.
It's beautiful.
I also am just going to say very quickly, we had a discussion, words have power. We know that. Names, I think, are the most powerful thing. And I am always chagrined when I get somebody's name wrong. So if I mispronounce, please correct me. So Heidi, Anna Bryn.
Good.
Very
good.
No, I know that look. It's like, I'm just
it's
gonna
so
click
good.
here. Who is our choreographer. This, I'm gonna do it. Randi Vjelstad.
Well, Vedlegg.
Okay, Randi, I tried.
Yeah.
By the end of the conference, who is our textile artist. and they're from Oslomet, the Metropolitan University. And I am going to shut the door, have a seat, and enjoy. We'll have their presentation and some time for questions afterwards. We have the luxury of plenty of time, so we can keep this informal as well. Thank you all for making the trek here. They will be recording this, and they have offered, if you feel like taking still photographs like I do, you can do that, but they ask that you don't have video. So you've got those lights. Yeah. I would say just before they start, if you have a phone that is not on silent, that would be a beautiful, generous thing to do. Thank you.
Fysiske skader på kropp og bygninger kan repareres. Men sårene på sjelen vil alltid være der. Mentale sår kan gå i arv fra en mor til hennes barn.
Writes the Norwegian textile artist Mari Meen Halsøy.
We all have a scar.
We have scars in common. Our first scar we have in common we do not remember. It is our navel. But we have another scar in common is a story that tells us. The story says that we were born with all the wisdom of the world. And as we were born, we were so eager to tell about this wisdom that we opened our mouth. But then an angel was there, putting its heavenly and heavy index finger over our mouths, saying shh, and we forgot everything. But still, we carry the mark of the angel finger under our nose. We all have a scar. We all have a scar.
This is how our performance called broderi og fortelling, meaning embroidery and storytelling, started. The audience are logged on the video platform Zoom. They look into a window divided in 3 screens videos in front of them. All 3 screens show images of one piece of textile art, whereas one image also includes a storyteller.
The challenge is how to slowly feed information to the audience for guiding them into the fiction of our performance, broderi or fortelling, at the same time not overfeed them.
Having that natural dynamic in entering the performance, the cameras were held steady from the beginning. The 3 different images are given a few seconds before the storytelling begins. To bring, guide, lead the audience into the fiction of the myth, the story told orally needs space before the movement in the visuality starts. This to ensure the storyteller's dynamics in her expression. According to Hans Thies Lehmann and Patrick Primavesi, and I quote, strategies of space and spacing may disperse signs and symbols, allowing the spectators to construct their own stories. The audience could then relax in one of the 3 images before the textile artist enters another image and start working on one of the textile panels. The movement in the textile artist's sewing do not illustrate the text from the storyteller, or vice versa, but the connection between them will be created by the audience.
Kanskje du har fløyet dit med fly, lagt der under sola med nyinnkjøpt bikini og spist på restaurant, fylt tallerken opp om kveldene og spist halvparten. For vi har jo olje. Kreta, en gang verdens navle. Dit kom folk fra hele verden. Knossos het en by. Der satt kvinnene på balkonger og så ned på skipene som kom fullastet med stoffer. Og de tenkte, å, nye kjoler, nye gardiner, nye møbler. Gatene var fylt opp med lukt av all slags krydder oppå markedet. Kunne treffe en fremmed som kunne fortelle deg de mest forunderlige ting. Kreta, ja, der fantes det ikke sult eller tørste. Der var det
Once, we were a stranger in a myth, trying to re-articulate who we were and where we are.
This, as Carrie said, this performance paper is based on a co-created project carried out in the autumn 2021. This was part of a European Erasmus plus K2 project called On Life. The project was to create an online performance and tried out a transdisciplinary artistic collective consisting of a storyteller, a textile artist and a choreographer crossing the mythological space with a web-based space. The storyteller and the textile artist will here be addressed as performers. In addition, 3 bachelor students were participating and they will be addressed as participants. The performance paper takes a closer look on what happens when a collaboration just comes together.
Coming together is not just coming together. There are textures and there are spaces.
There were bodies, and there was imagination. There was a myth, and there were embroideries.
There were words and there were movements. There were stitches and stings of memories.
Stings of memories, a negotiation of art and identity. Our method was artistic research, which in practice-based research in the cultural and artistic field of contemporary life dominated by methodological pluralism. The project was action-based where small montages were tested several times and then discussed. We started working 6 months before the performance, exploring the material and the connection between us as creative and laughing partners. The research is about the knowledge that is embodied, and the sensual experiences are at the center of it. Our experience was interacting and leading to changes in the expression. Turning our practice into a digitized version was something we had not done before. This means that we lacked both knowledge and expertise in the process. It is important for us as both practitioners, laughers, and researchers to understand the relationship with boundaries one crosses through research. And this can lead to a re-articulation of one's own poetic.
The work had one common myth as a base of our research. We used the Greek myth of the Minotaur in a labyrinth or the maze as a basis. And the reason for us using a myth is because a myth is open in its form and can be interpreted in many different contemporary topics of today. For instance, Minos, or Minos, the king of Crete. He was walking through the streets of Knossos, and next to him was this beautiful, magnificent bull. It was white, and the muscle was playing under its skin. This bull was a gift from the god of ocean, Poseidon, to the god of Olympic, Zeus or Zeus. As the king Minos walked the bull back to his own place, he saw the bull started to eat the green grass, and the king, he was standing there admiring this animal, and he thought, whoa, no, what a shame. What a shame to slaughter such a beautiful animal to the gods. What if this animal would mate with one of my cows? Imagine the flock of animals I then would have. No, I'm not sacrificing that animal. That evening, the king, Minos, He slaughtered 7 of his own bulls, and the smoke of the sacrifice rose. But gods will not be tricked or fooled. That night the god of ocean stood up from the ocean, mighty as he was, with a fork in his hand, and he looked down on Crete, which was just a little dot there and down there in his shadow, and with his own eyes he threw a curse down to Minos and his family. Once I was in Athens. Okay. I was doing a job there in Athens. I was teaching storytelling, and it was a harder job. And after the job, the commissioners really wanted me to see some of Athens. It was January. And I'm talking about the Greek winter, which is not romantic like the Norwegian winter, with snow peacefully falling down from the sky, covering the land. No, it was rainy. I was tired. But what can I say? What could I say? I could not refuse it. I mean, I had to be polite. So I walked through Athens. And then they really wanted me to see Acropolis. Acropolis. We have mountains in Norway. Well, this was not a mountain, but still a steep hill to walk up with my body on the top. I saw the ruin, a temple, lying there in rain and fog.
Nicolas Bourreau, he argues that the reality of the contemporary is montages, where one understands temporary versions of reality. The aesthetics are about editing this montage into works of art.
We used the principle of montage to create a collective. To understand the myth and the performance itself is built around the montage principle, through using long embroidered fabrics as set pieces marking the stage.
We inhabit the myth and the performative space with our own personal narratives, either told through the slowly even rhythm of a needle penetrating a fabric, or the focus coming from a dramaturgical point of view.
Through our performance, the audience could see that both the storyteller and the textile artist, and also the textile, were changing places to different spaces, and through movement challenge the actual room we were in. The 3 cameras were also moving, giving the audience different views and angles to look at, take part in, dive into. To create a performance that give the performers an environment to explore, challenge, and discover the communication in between themselves in the actual room we had. Our performance and the communication with the audience through the camera gives an extra nerve and excitement in the participants' presentation.
We all have a scar. When the needle sticks through, there are scars, but rather small scars. Craftsmanship is about telling a story with your hands. Embroidery consists of a needle, thread, fabrics, and hands that perform. There is a symbiosis between these parts, where each part is dependent on the other, or the others. For what is a needle without thread, and thread without needle? What is the needle and thread without hands? Who take the lead, the command, and the responsibility? The sewing fabric is crucial for the stitches and the threads. Through the movement of the needle, the thread spreads outwards. The stitch, whether small or long, is fundamental. The whole embroidery depends on the little stitches. If the little stitches disappears, the embroidery disappears. The red synthetic leather panels with silk embroidery are not an obvious combination, but this increases the novelty of the materials. Further exploration continue in dialogue with the simple stitch and material and combination with different stitch densities, lengths and directions yielded interesting variations and possibilities. The material's dull surface provided resistance to the needle, and when the stitch tightened, a relief arose, resulting in the embroidery rising from a two-dimensional surface. Applying only one color inspired creativity and innovation with new expressions in the material. The panels are individual narratives inspired by animals' anatomy, veins and tendons, the thing we cannot see. That narrative is a thread of truth. The embroidery is associated with a mythical narrative with the veins unfolding and surfaces below it.
As the monster, the Minotaur, was lying there in the maze, on the ground, the Greek hero, Theseus, saw that the monster tried to tell him something, so he bent down and he heard the monster say,
My name is Asterius, but no one will remember my name.
Look at this. Look at the stitches. The thread is shining. Richard Sennett highlights the curiosity of the material, which is crucial for making quality and further on to work with great respect and to derive meaning from the works. Long stitches and small stitches in different directions. Quality is a likely outcome when you spend time and have patience with the embroidery in the design process. There is a binding working relationship between the artist and the material. Questions are asked, tests are evaluated. New tests must be made. New questions must be asked, and thus the work and research are established.
we all have a scar. The narrative, and especially the fictional act, as a preparation for the unknown and give us a sense of control. A narrative has the uniqueness of bringing us beyond the limitations of our own lives, giving us access to participate in other experiences of past, present, and giving us ideas about the future. Through the story, we explore the field of understanding. It is a place of negotiate about mimesis. Yes, mimesis, where the personal, the professional, the intimate, and the public and the aesthetic meet and reflect in interaction. You see the concept of mimesis. Mimesis is often associated with the Greek philosopher Aristotle, who himself never gave a definition on the term. And in mimesis, in the context of Aristotle, means representation. The French philosopher Paul Ricoeur, he claims that Aristotle's concept of mimesis is connected to poiesis, meaning art. It is only within art mimesis is effective. And mimesis consists of certain parts, certain levels or phases or steps. So first step of mimesis is life. Yes, life. You know, what we experienced before we tell about it. And in our process, this was a place where we got to know each other. We talked about everything that everyone talks about, you know, dogs or children or pandemic, etc. Not only did we talk to get to know each other, we explored each other's praxis also.
The necessity of building a safe environment for exploring the creativity in our process towards our performance.
And the audience. We asked the audience to bring stuff like tea, spices, something to write on with, and during the performance we instructed the audience to, for instance, smell the spice, etc. This was both to give them a feeling of community despite the distance, and to connect the myth to experiences.
This was also to create a presence, a here and now, produce attention on what is artistically happening.
Abrupt. Breaks through the audience or the fiction, and our own experience was used in several places throughout the performance to highlight the experience of the material.
To clarify for the audience, these abrupt breaks from the fiction will set the rule between all the participants that for every break all three screens will each have a still image no matter where they are in the actual room. And during the fiction, all three cameras will be in movement.
Så fra da jeg fikk vite hva det vil si å være annerledes. Når min sønn går på bussen, så snakker de til ham på engelsk. Min sønn, som andre måler seg i forhold til å tenke at jeg er normal, ja. Min sønn, som andre tenker at det der er annerledes. Min sønn, som er et monster, sa kong Minos. Hans dronning hadde født et monster.
We are in this process, having an attitude of discovering in a creative, collaborative, instead of merely being told what to do. Back to the question, who is leading, the hand or the thread?
And talked about mimesis, and the next step in mimesis afterlife is the poetic. Our life becomes a poetic imitations of the events. We are preparing the material for the performance. This is where our own poetry begins to apply. We have some aesthetic preferences that we use. Also, we have to face the thing of being digital. What would work artistically in a digital space?
The consciousness of movement dynamics is important. By giving the audience three visual screens where the performers are in movement, the textile fabrics are in the movement, and the three cameras are in the movement, but at the same time make sure that the orality of the story did not disappear in all the visuals. The visuals are supposed to strengthen and trigger the imagination for the audience. Dramaturgy in the performance is not confined to the narration of stories through elaborated movements. According to Lehmann and Primavesi, and I quote, it may also work on structures of physical and spatial relations among the performers and between them and the spectators. We worked on the video platform Zoom, and the cameras we used were three iPads controlled by the three participants, our bachelor students. Both Zoom and iPad, as you probably know, have their limitations. But we wanted to play with this limitation and explore how it would work in our performance.
We asked the audience to say some words based on what they experienced.
Makt, usynlighetssinne.
Pace, dedication, wonder, nysgjerrighet, annerledes mot.
Grief, life, strength.
The dramaturg is not supposed to function as an expert, but to think and act with it as an experimentalist, according to Lehmann and Primavesi.
In the last stage of mimesis, we perform in a way that allows the audience to reflect over the material. For us, the process is a relational place.
She gave birth to a son. And those who were present during the birth, they turned away in disgust. She had given birth to a son. The son was placed on her belly, and she looked down on her son. She saw how he kicked his feet, how he waved his arms, his feet, a bull, his head, a bull. She had given birth to a son who was half human, half bull, and the son, he was born with a young man's mind, and he tried to say to his mother, "Please, mother, this is not my fault, please forgive me." But all that came out was grunts and moans. And she saw the eyes of her son, and she could not stand it. The eyes filled with grief, so with her own hands she plucked out his eyes. And then she gave him the name Asterius.
By using iPads as camera, and our 3 students who have some movement experience controlling these iPads, we could play and explore distances in between the participants, moving through close-ups and further distances, different speed and angles on the cameras. We were able to give the audience an experience of closeness to the story, the storyteller, the stitches, the embroidery, in addition to the textile artist and her needles.
Det kan ikke vi mennesker, nei, for våre arr er ikke regenerering. Våre arr er kroppens egen synål, som skaper bindinger for å dekke til vår sårbarhet. Da 3 dager var gått, så kom Parsifae til Daidalos. Og Daidalos åpnet trekua, og Parsifae la hodet sitt der kuas hode var. Hun gikk inn i kua, og Parsifae la armene sine inn i kuas frambein, ned i kuas, hun la beina sine ned i kuas bakbein. Og så lukket Daidalos kua, og skjøv kua ut på beite.
Mimesis is also the crucial part of this project because we are digitalizing the actions and our aesthetic. According to Walter Benjamin, the experience of a work of art in a here and now situation is called the aura of the art. The aura is a one-time happening. When the work is mass-produced, it loses its aura.
But what about online space? Is there an aura in the online space? I mean, the Greek myth of the monster in the labyrinth is a metaphor which you can use in so many places and situations and contexts. And in our context, the Greek myth represents the technology and where the border is. What is natural? When are you crossing the natural? And we live in a time when digital practices are considered performative cultures, and it is difficult to avoid the being influenced by the technology in our work and in our lives. Digital technology is no longer just a tool, but forms its own culture. The advantages of the technology is that the technology itself does not carry feelings or intended actions. It is depending on us, and in our situation, the online space depends on us filling it up with meaning-making experiences one can reflect on.
According to the 2 lovely people, Lehmann and Primavesi, and I quote, "One of the basic questions is how the theatrical situation and the role of the spectator are changed by the use of media technologies."
Tessus, hørte Minotaurus si Theseus.
Theseus.
Mitt navn er
My name, and my
Asterius.
true name is Asterius, not
Theseus.
Minotaur. Theseus, you are my
er
blessing,
lys,
and I am your
Og jeg
curse.
er ditt
Theseus, you are my light, and I am your
Theseus.
darkness.
Du er min frelser, og jeg er din forbannelse.
Theseus,
Theseus,
like you killed the white
du
bull,
har drept
my
den
father,
hvite oksen.
you will
Skal du
yourself
selv
cause
volde
the
din
death
egen
of your
fars
own
død.
father, and
Og
like
som
you
du
killed
har
me,
drept
my
meg,
father's son,
min fars
you will
sønn,
cause your
skal
own
du
son's
selv
death.
volde din egen fars
Theseus, Theseus,
Theseus.
we have swapped
Nå
roles.
har vi byttet plass.
We wanted, through our experience with our performance broderi og fortelling, using common platforms as Zoom and iPad to give the audience an artistic feeling by guiding them into a fiction that we hope they have not been in before.
The king, Minos, Minos, the king. He was furious when he realized what kind of a child born by his queen, and he knew who was standing behind all this, the architect Daedalus, the clever one Daedalus. He went to Daedalus, the skinny man, the smiling man, and Minos, he said, "Who do you think you are? You who cross the borders of what is natural, you who cross the borders the gods have set." And the architect, he smiled and he said, "Oh king, this is science. Oh king, the child you find hideous will decorate you. Oh king, the child you fear will be your most be a weapon. Oh king, the child you hate will adore you. Give him to me, and I will build a building, a maze, a labyrinth. The world has never seen anything like it. And oh king, not only that, you will be remembered, because the child, he will be called after you. His name will be Minos Ox, Minotaur, not Asterius."